All right, estudiantes, today we are going to talk about a verb that we'll be using a lot in this chapter. The verb is jugar. So it is a boot verb, a stem changing verb. Before we begin on the verb itself, let's just go through our directions real quick on reviewing what a boot verb is. So what is a boot verb or a stem changing verb? We need to know it is a verb that changes its spelling. And in what forms does it change? All forms except nosotros and vosotros. And as you can see, we have our different categories that we've worked on so far throughout the year. Remember, we've talked about E to IE verbs, O to UE verbs, E to I verbs. And then in this unit, it's just one verb we're looking at, the U to UE category, and that verb is jugar. So jugar means to play. So jugar means to play, and we use this to talk about playing sports. So if you think back in previous chapters, you learned the verb tocar. Tocar is used only talking about playing, for example, instruments, like tocar la guitarra. In this verb, jugar, we're using it to talk about to play sports or also to play games. So like if we played a game in class, we would use this verb jugar. So just kind of recognize the difference between those two verbs. And with this verb, remember anything inside of the boot applies a spelling change. And our spelling change we're looking at with jugar is U to UE. So the yo form, and it is an AR verb, so pay attention to that. The yo form will be juego. The to form, juegas. So I change U to UE here in the middle, and then it's an AR verb, so I'm using my AR endings. Él, ella, usted juega. Nosotros, now it's outside of the boot, so no spelling change in the middle. I'm just using my AR ending. I have jugamos. Same with vosotros, no spelling change in the middle. Jugáis. Ellos, ellas, ustedes juegan. That would be I play, you play, he or she plays, we play, you all play, or they play. So once we recognize our forms of jugar, a couple rules to keep in mind. It says when you use jugar with the name of a sport, use a. So we're going to use the preposition a in our answers. And remember when we have a and l together, it forms al. So for example, if I wanted to say I play tennis, so I'd say juego al. So I can't have a and l next to each other. So if I try to say juego a el tenis, notice that a and l, too many vowels next to each other, so we just combine it together. So juego al tenis. Or if we said we play baseball, so we say jugamos al baseball instead of saying jugamos a el baseball. It's too much, so we just combine it. If your sport starts with la, though, like for example, la natación, then you can just use a and la together. So it's only if your sport starts with L that we need to make that change. So go ahead and work on these practice sentences here. It says, say what sports the following people play. Jugar a. So we'll look at uno together. We have ella, and we need to use the correct form to match ella. So we have ella juega, and then al basketball. She plays basketball is what that sentence is communicating. We have our form of jugar, and if we look at the sport, we have el basketball, but we need to change that to al and make sure that's there before the name of the sport.